A favorite has emerged as Washington is now transitioning into its head coaching search after landing Golden Goose candidate Adam Peters, assistant GM of the San Francisco 49ers, as Washington's new general manager and head of football operations. We now turn our search to the head coaching position, a interview process that has already begun virtually with Mike McDonald and Anthony Weaver of the Baltimore Ravens, a process that will also include Dan Quinn of the Dallas Cowboys, Raheem Morris of the Los Angeles Rams, Aaron Glenn also of the Detroit Lions. But we already know why we're here right now. We already know who the belle of the ball is. We already know who the pretty girl at the dance that everybody's trying to get the slow dance with. It is Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator, Detroit Lions. If you follow me on Twitter or X, Instagram, Facebook, or if you're a subscriber to this channel, the name Ben Johnson has rung bells on my propaganda for a long time. I've been saying Ben Johnson since October of 2022, not October of 2023, October of 2022. I've been on the Ben Johnson to Washington agenda since Dan Snyder still owned my football team. This is something I've been preaching because I want to be a part of the trend that the league is going in. And I want my young wizard X's and O's guy. But the caveat here is that Ben Johnson's not just an X's and O's guy. He is a guy's guy. He can lead men. And I remember the clip of Ben Johnson speaking with Sam Howell at the Senior Bowl practices. And Sam Howell asked him the question, why do you coach? Pretty much RG3 like, what is your why? And he said one word, relationships. Go back like I do and go obsess over the Detroit Lions press conferences. Go watch all of his media availability in Detroit. It is clear the guy is wise behind his he's wise behind his beyond his years. It's wise that he resonates with players, and it's wise that he has answers to players' questions. Some coaches' ego is so strong that they just say, do this because I say do this. Don't do this because it makes sense. I think a lot of the problems this year and why the development of Sam Howell went off the tracks is that EB is a high strung, do it this way because I say so, rather than do it this way because this. There's no added nuance. He's not explaining the intricacies in the details of each position. This is your offensive wizard head coach of 2024 and beyond. National media has had no idea what Washington was doing so far. But as soon as the process started, everybody put two and two and said Washington's going to get Adam Peters. The San Francisco guys were running to Washington radio and saying, guys, this is real. He's not taking an interview if he is not going to take the job. Washington also still conducted the interviews with Alec Hallaby, Mike Borgonzi. We interviewed with everybody but Will McClay of the Dallas Cowboys, who ended up turning down our interview request. But we still, Glenn Cook, Ian Cunningham, we still met with everybody. So what that does in the interview process is you find more than one ways to skin a cat. You get to hear the build plan of multiple people. You get to what I'm saying? You get to pull from the tutelage of high-level NFL execs. Even if they're not the guy you go with, they have provided you with a blueprint. They have provided you with information, with intel about how this build should go. And Josh Harris has proved already 1 week into his first offseason really running shit here in Washington that he is not going to try to be the big dick in the room like Daniel Snyder did. He had reached out to Bob Myers and Rick Spielman probably a long time ago, and they've been waiting on this day. They were pragmatic, they were prepared, and they attacked accordingly as soon as the offseason began. Josh Harris is not playing any games. The top guy available on the front office side was Adam Peters. The other top guy available in the head coaching thing this year is Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator, Detroit Lions. So that is why you see the Diana Rossinis, the Mike Garafolos, the Jonathan Jones, Sports Illustrated. Every national pundit is suddenly saying Washington and Adam Peters are all in for Ben Johnson. He is their head coach in waiting, and they are going to go through an exhaustive process to interview Mike McDaniel, Anthony Weaver, Raheem Morris, and company, Aaron Glenn. But let's call a spade a spade. The guy, if he wants this job, it's his. He's been requested by 5 teams out of the 8 teams available who need a head coach right now. So for those of you who say, I don't know what the hype is around this guy, he's the flavor of the week, the flavor of the year, and he is the top of the food chain when it comes to the coaching search in 2024. If Ben Johnson wants Washington, if Ben Johnson believes in the plan of Adam Peters and Josh Harris and company, this is going to be a done deal regardless of if Detroit wins or loses this game tomorrow. Fun fact, we got 2 candidates competing against each other head to head in a playoff matchup this week. Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator of the Lions, is playing tomorrow night against Raheem Morris, another head coaching candidate that we are interviewing. He's the defensive coordinator for the Rams. So we got Ben Johnson and Raheem Morris going head to head in a national playoff game. The game of the week, probably, because the Rams are the team nobody wants to play in this postseason. Nobody wants to play the wild card team with the Super Bowl caliber coach and quarterback and one of the best defensive tackles ever. And Detroit is playing with house money. But the game's not going to win or lose these guys a job, but it will provide a blueprint. And don't be those guys who throw away 2 years of data just to say, oh, I don't like Ben Johnson because I don't like the third down call he called in this playoff game. 2 years of data that shows that he has a top 3 to 5 rushing and passing attack. His gap-heavy scheme is very similar to Kyle Shanahan and his disciples in that it involves a lot of play action and zone running to open up a vertical passing offense. Ben Johnson has more than one way to skin a cat, and there's a reason he's at the top of the food chain in this year's coaching search. And I think inevitably Washington and Ben Johnson are on a collision course to him getting the job here and him being the guy here. And Washington will be parlaying a 44-year-old general manager with a 37-year-old offensive wizard. And if we do lock in the Ben Johnson sweepstakes, the next big question for Washington, it's not the quarterback. It is, who is the defensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders going to be? And how does Ben Johnson fill out his staff? My boy Jalen, brother, blood, gang, group chat gang, he threw out a good suggestion today. He said John Fox. He's from the 757. He's in the Lions staff. He has plenty of experience coaching defense. And Jalen suggested the model of Sean McVay. Pair young offensive wizard with old grizzled defensive coordinator. I think it's a match made in heaven. There's also guys like Sean Dion Hamilton, who was drafted by Washington on that Detroit defense. There's guys like Chris Richard, defensive back coach of the New Orleans Saints. Wink Martindale just got fired. Hey, we could double up with head coaching candidates and bring Anthony Weaver, the defensive line coach from Baltimore, to parlay with Ben Johnson here in D.C. There are a plethora of ways Washington can build out a coaching staff. First things first, let's lock in a coach. Before I exit, though, there's someone I want to call out. My Rio rant of the week is about this cuck hack Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk. He has peddled this bullshit narrative since September that Josh Harris is enamored and in love with the idea of Washington bringing in Bill Belichick as the coach. We immediately got to the shits in our executive search, and everybody shot down Washington having any interest in Bill Belichick. And instead of him being a man and saying, I'm wrong about the situation, he tries to peddle and steer his negative to Josh Harris is a meddler. He's meddling, and that's why he's bringing in Bob Myers and company. And he's meddling, and he already has a preconceived notion of who he wants to be the head coach. And now he's going to force Adam Peters to sign Ben Johnson as his head coach. Please take several seats and shut the fuck up, Mike Florio. Nothing you says is taken with any reverence or any credibility. You go out on your lame ass unseasoned platform, Pro Football Talk, and you peddle a bunch of bullshit. You never detract your statements, and you never acknowledge the fact that you are always wrong, especially about this team specifically. Dan Snyder's not here anymore. Washington is getting a clean blank slate with media, the national media especially. Stop peddling the same propaganda that existed while Dan Snyder was the owner here. You fucking hack. Learn how to do your job correctly and stop fishing for clicks. You are an actual, credible, NBC associated media member. Say something that makes sense. And when you say some off the wall shit, acknowledge it, stand on it, say it with your chest. I was wrong. That's all I got on that guy. And that's all I got on the head coaching search right now. As the updates come out, your boy Rio will be here with immediate reaction. Ben Johnson is the 5-7 favorite to get the Washington Commanders head coaching job. And him and Adam Peters would be a grand slam times 10. Washington is here to see better days, and no one is guaranteeing or promising that these things will work. But I will tell you, these are guys that the league looks very highly of, and it's truly a new day in Washington going forward. Until next time, hail to the Washington Commanders. Enjoy your weekend, and let's watch some NFL playoff football. Deuces.